What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ant, GuyMade32 on Instagram, and today we got the House of the Dragon episode 3 breakdown coming to us from the good people over at Newrockstars. Let's go. Yeah, guys, episode 3 was awesome, man. I had so much fun watching and reacting to that episode. I'll put a link somewhere right here, and it will also be in the description below. But I just wanted to get back here and find out all of the things that I missed about the episode, all of the symbolisms that I missed, all of the connections that that definitely went right over my head, because I was just too deep into the story between the characters to get everything else that was going on. There's going to be wall paintings, like I said, there's going to be symbolisms, there's going to be so many things that is going to echo out through the rest of the show that just went straight over my head, because episode 3 was such a character experience. I just got lost in it. But jump down in the comments and let me know what you think is the best part of the show so far, and who's been your favorite character. But if you like what you see here, please go ahead and do the YouTube things, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to be notified when we upload a new video, go ahead and click that little bell icon. Also, if you like what the people at Newrockstars is doing, I'm going to put a link for their channel in the description below. Now, without any further ado, let's get
Welcome back to Newrockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of House of the Dragon Episode 3, which
How you doing, Vossy?
Cook out by serving up pork or crab. And thanks for your patience on this one. I don't get advanced screeners for the show, and we didn't want to force anyone to work on a holiday, but here it is. My scene-by-scene analysis of all the visual details and deeper layers of meaning you might have missed in this episode.
I definitely missed a lot.
Frame by frame through those opening credits, I promised that I would be laser-focused on the opening titles in case anything got updated, and yep, there was one sneaky change. Last week, the bloodline on the Greenhouse Hightower side of everything flowed from Otto, his dial marked with the Hand of the King icon, to Alicent, marked with the Old Town Beacon icon, and then stopped there. But now the bloodline flows from Alicent and meets Viserys' bloodline, marking the birth of a new possible heir, young Aegon. As the camera pans down, you can see another dial waiting for Aegon, but for now it is still untouched by the blood, because he has not yet been named the heir. The opening image of the episode shows the sigil of House Valerion, the seahorse, on a burning sail as the Triarchy ravages the Valerion fleet. This seahorse is not the seahorse fish that we know. It's a rearing mammalian horse with the lower half of a fish and fins that resemble wings. Together with the embers, this foreshadows the true savior of this episode,
sea dragon.
The fire of a flying Valerian dragon, sea smoke. Even its name parallels what we are currently seeing in its opening, smoke on the sea. And speaking of Ash in Ruin, Epic Hero Merch has a new shirt inspired by House of the Dragon called Ash in Ruin, and you can get it at epicheroshop.com. The Valerian Knight screams at Kragus Drahar, the crab feeder.
The sea snake will have your poxy f***ing head!
By Poxy effing head, he was referring to the fact that Kragus has grayscale, which you could see on his face and his shoulders last episode, hiding under his golden mask, which is also the mask of the Sons of the Harpy. Those are the assassins who threatened Daenerys' rule over Meereen in Game of Thrones Season 5. Now, these Game of Thrones winks are new to the character in this series. Presumably, Drahar acquired his Harpy mask from piracy in the Free Cities, and if you remember in Game of Thrones, the men in the ruins of Valyria had grayscale, which does make Kragus, in a way, doubly representative of the rot that infests the Targaryens' ancestral home and a future threat of the ambitions of their descendant Daenerys. This poor Valyrian knight hails the arrival of Prince Daemon and his dragon Caraxes,
just for him to get stomped on.
Save me!
Dead! Death!
They even VFX the knight spewing up blood, and based on the length of its tail as it swipes out the bonfire to the right, it probably also swept away that guy's corpse. So Daemon's bravery has nothing to do with the good of the realm, it's all about his pride. The crab feeder and his men hide in their caves, and this is exactly how the Dornish managed to stave off the Targaryen dragons during the failed conquest of Dorne. Also, the fact that they took out Aegon's sister wife Rhaenys and her dragon Meraxes with a scorpion weapon definitely helped as well. Now, as we
that was pretty good.
Feast, the first words we hear are those of young Aegon. And what's for dinner? Pork! Foreshadowing the game-changing game that will be brought in during the hunt. Now notice how the nobles say,
"He has your hair, your grace."
He does have my hair.
He has your eyes, your grace.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
And you have my nose, don't you?
And baby Aegon pulls away from Viserys' hand because notice how throughout this scene and throughout this episode, Viserys has now lost 2 of his fingers on his left hand.
I definitely seen that.
A new piece of this guy is dropping off. And as always, the Valyrian steel dagger of Aegon the Conqueror, which yes, again plays a huge role throughout Game of Thrones, continues to jut into frame, which is especially ironic now since his withering left hand would be the one to draw that dagger. Pretty soon, all it's going to be able to grab it is a stump. It's just as every year of his rule renders him less and less worthy to carry Aegon's legacy represented by that.
Man.
Also, yes, I have to point this out. The frame that we cut to Aegon, that kid is totally looking at the camera. These child actors, they always see us. Otto Hightower speaks with his older brother Hobart, Lord of Old Town. We actually saw him swearing fealty to Rhaenyra in episode 1, which makes his assumption that Aegon would be named new heir pretty brazen.
He's the king's firstborn son.
I don't know that His Grace sees it so clearly.
Then it lies with you to make him see it.
So we see how Otto pressuring his daughter Alicent to influence the king is really a trait passed down to him from his Hightower elder. Tyland Lannister is the new master of ships, replacing Corlys.
That's a great way to look at it.
Notice his Lannister lion. Tyland and his twin brother Jason Lannister are both played by actor Jefferson Hall, who played Sir Hugh of the Vale in season 1.
Real quick, I had no idea that 1, they were twins, 2, they were played by the same actor, and 3, that actor has been in there since episode 1. No idea at all. And that's a good little tidbit. I had no idea that he also played a part in Game of Thrones. But back to it.
With Thrones. I love how he plays Tyland as a worrywart and Jason as a proud braggart. Shots later in this episode actually Winklevoss him in twice, side by side. But there's a fun edit out of this scene.
Can someone tell me where in the 7 hells Rhaenyra might be?
Under the dragon's eye.
Hilarious.
Yeah, the jump cut to the Bard's song answers the king's question with an answer he might not like. His daughter Rhaenyra is under the dragon's eye, as if she might be the destined descendant in Aegon's Song of Ice and Fire dream. Additionally, Rhaenyra is in the Godswood beneath the red leaves of the weirwood tree, anointing her destiny from the old gods as well. The divine forces in Westeros that predate the Targaryens, which plays a key symbolic role later. Now, this
That's what I was talking
song
about.
is about Nymeria and her 10,000 ships, the historical warrior queen who was referenced in this same location, episode 1. You can actually see the name Nymeria when the page turns at the top of that paragraph. So either Rhaenyra had this book mended to replace the page that she tore out, or she could be reading a new book about this person, who, if you think about it, would likely be the only woman in her life that she now feels companionship with. And by the way, HBO is developing a Nymeria 10,000 Ships spin-off series, so you know the show's just trying to incept Nymeria in our brains. Oh, you want a 10,000 Ships show now? Well, we got one for you. Now this singer is named Samuel, like Samuel Tarly, who in Game of Thrones coined the title Song of Ice and Fire for his history of these recent conflicts, which is ironic that he would pick the same phrase Aegon the Conqueror used to describe the dream of White Walkers. But the fact that we focus on this bard so much in the scene, like him stretching his sore hand, makes me wonder if this could actually be the show's version of the character Mushroom, the mummer in Fire and Blood, who provided the salacious details of the subjective historical account that George R. R. Martin intended Fire and Blood to be. Naming him Samuel could be a nod to that meta aspect of an in-universe character later playing a role in documenting the history of it. Now the castle walls torches are held,
but a lot of things will have to go. A lot of things will have to go wrong for him to become a midget at some point, or like lose his mind, or he'd have to become carry some bad favor with somebody for them to make him the fool. You know what I mean? But back to it.
Dragon breathing fire, I love that touch. More tasteful decor than the literal bestiality porn on every other surface of this castle. Whereas before these two young women laid together beneath this tree, even the actresses admitted that they were doing so with an intentional flirty undertone. Now Rhaenyra will not even look at the queen, yet the blocking suggests she's using the eyes of the face in the weirwood tree trunk as the eyes in the back of her head. In a way, Alicent is under the dragon's eye. Viserys and Alicent encourage Rhaenyra to bear children.
It's not so bad. The days are long, but Aegon came quickly and without fuss.
Yeah, those nurses got some tea. Clearly, Aegon's birth was rough for this teenage bride, and like many queens in the Middle Ages, especially ones now focused on popping out the next kid, she doesn't really get to spend much time mothering her toddler. Young Aegon looks at camera again and pushes that dragon figurine on the floor.
All screw like children when they're being slaughtered.
Your Grace, he also has your love of dropping dragon toys. Yes, in this episode, Rhaenyra goes from hating the sound of a screaming boar, the editing of her line there, syncing with Aegon's shouts, to, at the end of this episode, stabbing a screaming boar. I wonder who Rhaenyra was visualizing stabbing there. As they arrive at the hunting camp, we see the Red Keep in the background of the shot.
I mean, anything is liable to go with this show, but like, the boar was trying to kill her, and that could symbolize Aegon being a threat to her life and her throne in the future. Well, shite. Back to it.
The Game of Thrones Season 1 scenes that take place in the Kingswood, I just love the visual context we get here to anchor us in the setting. Ain't it nice when your TV show's got bigger budget? Master of Laws Lionel Strong applauds their arrival, flanked by his two sons, Larys Strong with a club foot, and his brother Sir Harwin Breakbone Strong, who's going to be an important character throughout this series. Hobart Hightower declares,
Hail, hail, Eglin the Conqueror, babe, second of his name.
Second of his name is the title of this episode, and for Hobart to shout it here in front of everyone is a huge breach of protocol, as Aegon would not be called Aegon II, aka second of his name, until the king officially names him an heir, which he has not done yet. Despite the patriarchal customs of this society, Rhaenyra remains the proclaimed heir, whom, again, Hobart swore fealty to. So that conflict of whether Aegon should be the second of his name is at the heart of this episode. And while it is his birthday that they're celebrating, really this episode is the name day for other Targaryens, each of whom entered this world in a new way by the episode's end, baptized in fire and blood. As Rhaenyra walks through the red tent, we see her new hair braid at the back of her head, which matches the interlocking circles of the Valyrian steel necklace that Daemon gave her. This one always got eyes in the back of her head. Rhaenyra walks in on Keira Lannister dropping some exposition.
You always got some shit going.
I don't want to.
What will happen to Lady Joanna?
She's to be sold to a pillow house in the Free Cities, if you believe the rumors.
That's
Joanna
crazy.
Swan was kidnapped and sold into sexual slavery and leased, but in the text becomes a beloved courtesan named the Black Swan and essentially rules the city of Lease. So don't worry, Joanna's gonna be fine. Lady Jocelyn Redwine gets shut down by Rhaenyra.
And how have you served the one with late Lady Red Wine, waiting cake?
Now, actually, before Alyssa Tyrell, our heroine from Game of Thrones, married into the Tyrell family, she actually came from House Redwine. So this dog-loving woman is her distant ancestor. Jason Lannister puts the moves of Rhaenyra by bragging about Casterly Rock.
The rock is thrice the height of the high tower in Old Town, taller still than the wall in the north.
Yeah, it's fitting that Jason would brag about how tall the castle is, when famously Casterly Rock's best features are really the tunnels and mines within the rock that not many people know about. As tall as the castle is, Rhaenyra could always fly higher than it on Syrax, which Jason even knows that she did because Rhaenyra visited Casterly Rock with her mom as a girl. I just bring this up to compare Jason to another boastful character like Daemon, a guy whose greatest strength so far in the series has been his knowledge of the secret tunnels and passageways hidden within beneath the surface. And I love how when Jason first approached Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra is framed in the raging bonfire behind her. Fire has always been a symbol of strength for the Targaryen family, and it's almost like Rhaenyra is able to brush off Jason because she is fueled by this fire. Fire that she doesn't yet let explode out of her. Now, those Targaryens are not only known for their platinum hair, but how about that smooth skin? No dark under-eye circles or blemishes on any of them.
Report, Your Grace, there's been a sighting of a white hart.
The white hart.
The king of the King's Wood, Your Grace, a regal portent for Prince Aegon's name day.
Yes, the white stag is a creature of legend in the Kingswood. It was actually the same stag that Robert Baratheon was pursuing on his fateful hunt in A Game of Thrones. Sir Helen Sharp later tells the king,
before the Dragon Age ruled over Westeros, White Hart was a symbol of royalty in these lands.
I've never been one for signs of importance, Your Grace, but if the gods did wish to show their favor.
So for Viserys, this stag represents one symbol of fate grounded in nature, something real, as opposed to his unreliable dragon dreams. It's a sign of power that preceded Aegon's conquest that still eludes this Targaryen king. During their time together, Sir Criston tells Rhaenyra about his name being added to the White Book. You remember that's the book containing the Hall of Famer Kingsguard Knights that we saw in the Game of Thrones series. Jason Lannister gives Viserys a golden spear, a Lannister weapon to kill a stag, the symbol of House Baratheon. Obviously some symbolic parallels there with the future.
You already know how that goes.
On his hunt. Otto suggests Rhaenyra marry young Aegon, while Lionel Strong smartly suggests Laenor Velaryon. Lionel's pick would heal the division with the Velaryons, the wealthiest house, while Otto's pick would prevent a future succession crisis and civil war. Perhaps Lionel just sees that crisis as inevitable and wants Velaryon closer to the crown, rather than having them on the outside looking in. A boar attacks Sir Kristen and Rhaenyra.
We'll see how
which
that
we
all
know
turns
we
out.
should be worried about. And of course, it was a boar that fatally wounded Robert Baratheon. But Rhaenyra stabs this boar to death. She's unafraid of its childlike squeals, and she coats herself in blood. The fire that was gradually building Rhaenyra throughout this episode finally explodes and takes the form of blood. And so through fire and blood, her true self emerges. And we cut directly from this to the shot of Viserys by the campfire with the flames crackling in the foreground. As if he's trying to
Amazing
draw
shot.
strength from these flames. But without getting a single drop of blood on him this episode, he feels powerless.
Many in my line have been dragon riders. Very few among us have been dreamers. What is the power of a dragon? It's the power of prophecy.
Ah, so we see how Viserys sees the distinction between dragon riders and dreamers. Dragon riders, like Daemon and Rhaenyra, act brashly and overwhelm their enemies with shock and awe, whereas dreamers are more cautious. They use their belief in prophecy to try to stay a step ahead. For Viserys, it wasn't Aegon's conquest that inspired him, it was Aegon's dream. And before that, Daenerys' dream that saved his family from the doom of Valyria. Viserys saw more power in those dreams and fashioned himself a dreamer. But now he's beginning to doubt himself, because as he shares with Alicent his dream of a son wearing Aegon's crown, the dream that he told Emma about, he now admits that he only dreamt that image one time, and he could never again will it into a recurring prophecy-style dream. And it's interesting to note that Viserys' dream showed Aegon wearing the Conqueror's crown, not the crown he's currently wearing. The crown worn in the series by Viserys and his predecessor Jaehaerys, which are seen on their dials in the opening credits. That is not Aegon's crown. Aegon's crown is a circlet of Valyrian steel with square-cut rubies in it. That crown encircles the dial that represents Aegon the Conqueror.
First one.
That starts off the opening credits and was last worn by Maegor the Cruel. Without spoiling anything, Aegon the Conqueror's ruby crown does come back in this narrative. But for now, Viserys thought naming Rhaenyra heir was his way of quitting that whole dream obsession. But now, with Aegon's birth, his dream is actually coming true again. And now this White Hart legend is supporting that destiny. He doesn't know which signs to heed. So it actually comes to a bit of relief to Viserys when Breakbone Strong is trapped a different normal stag.
May not be white, no Grace. He's a big lad.
Viserys uses the Lannister spear to stab the stag, but he misses the mark and requires a repeated jab. It's actually pretty pathetic. A contrast to Rhaenyra and Sir Kristen, who faced a beast without any help and killed it a lot faster. The way Viserys puts down this stag, it's almost like
they definitely needed help.
Also, I love this detail. Notice his left ring and pinky finger are lifted in his glove because those fingers have rotted off and those parts of the glove are empty. So when your fingers aren't filling the glove, it just kind of sticks outward. I love this detail because the actor Paddy Considine had to consciously act it with his fingers out to imply empty glove fingers, just to show attention to detail appreciated by only
that's
folks
pretty
who break
cool.
these down on YouTube. Rhaenyra looks down over the Kingswood camp, and in this same unbroken shot
just like
of
that.
her gliding over it all, the camera pans over to reveal the legendary White Hart presenting itself to her.
The white one.
Yes,
that was
the
pretty
white
cool.
whale that eluded both her king father and will elude Robert Baratheon in the future appears to this Targaryen heir who is anointed in blood. The fact that Rhaenyra spares it, though, is interesting because you can
Very
totally
much
imagine
so.
descendant Daenerys slaying that White Hart and proudly dragging it back into camp to show off her power. But this move by Rhaenyra can be seen as a gesture of restraint or compassion, but I see it as a heedlessly contrarian refusal to play the games of her father and his men. She's literally over all of them. So by letting this White Hart flee, she leaves it as a secret known only to her, while to her father, it remains a maddening mystery that he'll never know whether or not it was even real. All her father has now are his bullshit dragon dreams, but Rhaenyra knows as a secret in her own heart that she had a physical sign from nature that her claim to the crown is destined. And I cannot help but see a parallel with another queen and a stag, the climax of the 2006 film, The Queen, with Helen Mirren as Queen Elizabeth II, shooing away a long sought after stag during a hunt to mirror her softening compassion for Princess Diana. Rhaenyra instead returns with a victory that was all her own, and pork is on the menu. Unlike her father, Rhaenyra is covered in
Definitely
blood,
wasn't
proving to
all her
these
own.
lords watching that her kill was not ceremonial. She earned it. I love how particularly Breakbone Strong gives her a huge grin as he skins that rabbit. Otto tells Alicent that Aegon should become heir over Rhaenyra.
The road ahead is uncertain, but the end is clear. Aegon will be king.
I love this as a meta line for this whole prequel series. Like, you can look at a family tree and know where this ends. I mean, even if you've seen Game of Thrones, you know where it ends. But it's really the uncertain road ahead, the snaking bloodlines that branch and how they flood stuff that's gonna make this interesting to watch. On to the Stepstones. There is
I could go look at all of that,
52-second
but I'm
shot
not.
showing 3 Valyrian ships and Daemon's dragon Caraxes in a battle against the Treyarchy forces. One of those fireballs hits the center of a ship and sinks it. Another fireball appears to go through the gap in the sails of the leftmost ship.
Oh,
So it's really by luck that it was able to escape that. Corlys says,
"We must press the attack. continue sending the dragons.
Yes, he said dragons. A little signal that during all this time, they definitely had more than one dragon at their disposal. They had Caraxes and Leonor's dragon, Seasmoke. So it's not like Seasmoke came out of nowhere. Corlys debates strategy with his son, Leonor. Remember, he was the younger kid of the tourney with his sister.
But that's what I'm saying. He grew up quick as hell.
Corlys' brother, Vaemond. He's the one who sent the notice to the crown. Notice how the map board uses crab claws for Kragas' forces, as well as fish jawbones and other fish figurines. But when Leonor suggests an offering of flesh to draw out Kragas from the caves, Daemon arrives in that moment and plops his dragon-designed helmet on the table. Even though he hasn't made this decision yet, he is going to end up volunteering himself.
He's
as
definitely going to be that guy.
In this moment, serves as his figurine, putting himself on the game board. Daemon reads the king's letter and then pummels the messenger, Adam, and later we hear Viserys' voiceover reading it as Daemon rows alone toward the shore. So we realize that the only thing stopping him from doing this until now was just his pride. He's only moving on to this last resort tactic because his brother's about to steal the victory from him.
Yeah, they about to come save him.
Daemon would sooner die than let that happen, and he's about to risk doing that. And I love this shot of Daemon rowing out from behind burning ship.
The way he knows his brother. He definitely knows his brother.
Fire. Just another example of a Targaryen in this episode being anointed from fire and blood. Now Daemon appears to surrender.
Fire
watches them
and
with
blood.
only one eye, since that other eye has been rotted by the grayscale. Maybe that's why he had trouble seeing Seasmoke and all that smoke and fog. Because he didn't forget, he was searching the sky for those dragons. It's just this dragon had a convenient color tone to it.
That's
Daemon
a big
cuts
fact.
through
He
the
literally
dragon,
looks
the
like
sword,
smoke.
Sister, but eventually his plot armor runs out and he gets tripped up by one sword plugged with a bunch of arrows.
Three of them joints.
Extreme close-up of Dark Sister's hilt. You can see how the crossguard forms outstretched dragon wings. I love all the little production design details of the show. As the screen fills with more and more smoke and fog, it masks the reveal of Seasmoke, Leonor's dragon, colored silver gray, and releasing a roar that's actually pretty unlike the roars of Syrax and Caraxes.
That joint sounds like a scream.
Now, Leonor, remember, is the son of the Targaryen queen who never was, Rhaenys. And since she's a dragon rider, her kids are dragon riders. Now, Seasmoke as a dragon is a bit younger and is more targeted with its attacks. Notice how it breathes a perfect U shape around Daemon, but doesn't torch him in particular?
Yep.
Whereas Caraxes just stomped a friendly earlier. Seasmoke even grabs 4 Triarchy fighters from a melee mess, including both sides, and manages to avoid grabbing any of their own men. It's kind of like blind reaching in a bag of Starbursts and pulling out 4 pinks. What are the odds of that? And Daemon emerges from the cave with the top half of Kragas' torso, hopefully grabbing part of the skin that didn't have grayscale on it. But like his niece Rhaenyra, he is fully covered in blood of his
that's crazy.
King, earning the loyalty and respect of all in sight. Both Daemon and Rhaenyra, without any help from the king, have brought home the bacon and scored victories through fire and blood. But I will leave you with my favorite detail of this entire final sequence. It takes up 12.5 minutes at the end of the episode. Throughout all of this, Matt Smith never utters a single word of dialogue. All of his emotions he conveys through his face and his physicality. In fact, the last line that he spoke in this episode was in the opening scene when he called out Kragas from the caves. It's almost like he was letting that reverberate until the man was able to accomplish his task. Thank you so much for watching these analyses. I really try to dig into the visual details.
For sure, man.
So for all of you so patient and willing to wait a day or two longer, please do me a favor and share these videos with everyone you know who watches House of the Dragon. I'm really just trying to enhance everyone's viewing experience. And again, thank you for joining me every week as we do that. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EAVOS. Subscribe to Newrockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching.
And as for me, he's definitely enhancing my viewing experience, and Newrockstars has definitely been enhancing my viewing experience for a very long time. All of these shows have way too many details for somebody who's just interested in the stories to get. We need places like Newrockstars to get this information out to us. Especially for the people who haven't read the books. And I'm not even gonna lie, man, this is amazing. It's another amazing episode. It's another amazing breakdown. It was more symbolism than Easter eggs per se. I definitely seen the hilt to the sword. That was a very cool detail, especially when he spun it that one time before he went in there. Daemon going Terminator mode was ridiculous. Like he said, he looks like he had plot armor. That goes without saying. Just go watch the reaction. It's like somewhere right here. You know what I mean? It's in the description or something. You on my channel, you know what's up. Yeah, guys, if you like the breakdown and the things that the people over at Newrockstars are doing, the link for them will be in the description below. And as always, if you like what you see in here, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps us way more than you know, and it helps us beat the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to be notified when we upload new videos, go ahead and click that little bell icon. Thank you.